What's going on, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, and we are here with a special edition, that terrific Tuesday night edition of the Doc Chat Bonus. This is the Careers and Love edition. I got the Doc Chat doctors with me. Oh, we going on in this conversation today. Hey, if you are here, let us know you here. You're checking us out. Tell somebody else we're talking about it. We are the only group of doctors you'll ever see on LinkedIn coming to talk about careers and relationships. We're gonna drop the hammer tonight, so you better get ready. I got Thor's and Thor's X. We got hammers we dropping tonight, so you better get ready. So we have, without further ado, Dr. Valerie Daniel, Dr. Juanita Tooks, and Dr. Don Ridge Young. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. If you're checking us out, hit us up in the comments. Let us know you're checking us out. This is the Doc Chat Show. I'll start with my good friend, Dr. Valerie Daniel. Let us know a little bit about yourself. Welcome again to the Doc Chat.
Well, first off, thank you. It is such a honor to be back. I am grateful. Like everyone else, I was happy to get an invitation to come back, and so I'm really happy to have this conversation. I am a psychotherapist in private practice in Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia area, and I've been doing that now for about almost 15 years, 20 years. My PhD is from Widener University, and it's a general PhD. My master's is in social work from Temple University. So here I am.
That's epic. That's epic. Dr. Juanita Tooks coming back on the Doc Chat. We appreciate you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Well, I am also happy to be back. This is my second time on the Doc Chat. Very excited. I'm Dr. Juanita Tooks, and I am a medical education learning specialist and academic advisor for Michigan State University's College of Osteopathic Medicine. I received my PhD from Oakland University right here in Michigan, and my PhD is in counseling with a special emphasis on higher education. I am also a licensed professional counselor in private practice, and I've been doing that for the last several years. So I'm very happy to be here talking about this very, very great topic. So I'm happy to be here with some amazing humans and doctors, and happy to be a part of the conversation.
Love it. I love it. And my frat, my brother, Dr. Don Ridge Young, back on the Doc Chat. I think you are leading the cause and being on the Doc Chat the most. I do believe that. I appreciate you, my brother. Welcome to Doc Chat. Let them know a little bit about yourself.
Dr. Turner, I'm gonna need a check if I keep this up. This is turning into a part-time job, brother. And then you put me on here with these therapists, so they're gonna think I need their service by the time we're
Therapist
done
and a
with this
counselor.
show.
That's right.
And a counselor, right?
That's it.
No, in all seriousness, my name is Dr. Donald Young. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. Uh, Texas born, Maryland raised, and Philly was my second home as I went to school at Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. I, by profession, a senior special agent with the federal government. So I've been a federal law enforcement agent for 23 years, two more to go to retirement. I earned my EDD in organizational leadership from Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida, 2 years ago, and I am looking forward to my next step, my next phase of life, my next chapter, working with our young people in either the charter school world or the higher ed world or both. And God's got some things in order. I'm excited about it. Always a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you because you let me cut up unfiltered. So, uh, and it is a pleasure to be with these beautiful, talented sisters tonight. So let's get it in.
We appreciate you. Appreciate you. We want to give a shout out to Dr. Tiffany Montgomery. This was her idea,
Yes,
folks. And the
yes.
devil is a lie. She's not feeling her best right now, but this show goes out to her.
We
We're
love
gonna
you,
make
Tiff.
sure.
Yes, yes, yes. We love you, Tiff.
We're gonna make sure we show her some love. And I'm telling you, we rock this the right way. We might be in store for a part two. So hey, I'm excited about it. Now
Dr. Tiffany, you better be in these comments.
she better be making sure she feels good. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Now, if you've never seen the Doc Chat Show, we keep it real. We shout out and highlight doctors, all doctoral backgrounds, all doctoral professions, and we appreciate all the work that doctors do. Now, this one in particular is very, very special because nobody I have seen is having the conversation about careers and love. And that's what we're having. And no better individuals to have it than great doctors with great backgrounds and some great stories. I'm telling you, we could be here all night, but we're going to keep it right in line. We're going to stay focused. We're going to stay focused. So, hey, if you're checking us out, drop your thoughts in the comments. What have you been going through when it comes to love and relationships as a professional? We know it's tough. We know it's hard, but I'm telling you, we want to give you some good wisdom and good support today. So if you've never seen the Doc Chat, what I like to do with these is always present some good facts before we go into the discussions with these great doctors. So let me get some stuff pulled up here. Give me about 4 or 5 minutes just to give some preference, and we'll go from there. All right. So let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit more. Just a little bit. Ooh, that's a lot of it. A little bit. Just a little bit, folks. All right. All right. So to start off, we look at this particular Pew Research article. Record high share of 40-year-olds in the U.S. have never been married. And we want to start out with that because we are all great seasoned individuals that are on this call, which is okay. But honestly, I will start off to say, I wish somebody would have told me what love was about. And the reason I say that is because we go to school to learn a craft or get into a career, but how many times has somebody actually told you how to really fall in love and be in love with somebody special, especially in the Black community? Now, we've all seen lots of different things, but sometimes we have to be honest. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Grandma didn't say too much. She was just happy the check came, but not knowing that maybe Grandpa had a whole nother family in another city. Now, I can go off on that stuff all day, but this has brought a very, very bad situation when it comes to marriage, especially when it comes to us as Black people. All right. And so we go into this other article that we have here. This was a research article done. Married Black men's opinions as to why Black women are disproportionately single. And something I want to make sure we get out of this is finding reasons of disproportionately singlehood among Black women reflected on 4 themes: gender relations, marriage education, socialization, and individual development. And a preference for gay and lesbian relationships. Let's be honest, not all men are going to want Black women. It's a frustrating thing, but it's a reality that's out here right now. This is what a lot of Black women are going through. All right. And so as we continue to look at some more statistics, only about a quarter, 26% of all Black US adults age 25 and older even have a bachelor's degree or more in education. So you're sitting here with Black people that have doctorate degrees. What do you think our chances are a lot of times when marrying? It's even lower a lot of times. And so we have to keep those things in mind. As we look at some more research, which states have the highest percentage of Black adults who are married. And we kind of went into this a little bit before we started the show, but I wanted to make sure I pick out certain points. And so in this particular article I want to pick out is in the 3rd paragraph here. Compared to the national average, 32.8% in 2005-2009, and now 31% in 2015 to 2019. States with a significantly higher percentage of married non-Hispanic Black adults were primarily concentrated in the West and in the South. I'm thinking that's Atlanta for you, Dr. Young. I'm thinking that's around there for you. But in contrast, of the states with significantly lower percentage of married adults, more than half of them were in the Midwest: Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. I'm gonna skip over one real quick: Missouri, Nebraska, Ohio, and Wisconsin. As you see, I skipped over Michigan.
Thank you.
I did. So now as we go into another article, the rising share of U.S. adults who are living without a spouse or partner. Now, we look at these statistics here. Among those that are 25 to 54, 59% of Black adults were unpartnered in 2019, higher than Hispanic, white, and Asian. For most racial ethnic groups, men are more than likely than women to be unpartnered. The exception is among Black adults, where women, 62%, are more likely to be unpartnered than men. And so going to these last few articles here, how do Black men feel about being single? And so there was a Dr. Perry that had a very great explanation of how he had an aunt uncle that were married for 40 years. And basically, the man did what he was supposed to do, what he felt like he was supposed to do as a man, and carried stuff out. But this particular author is single himself. He said, although this is his ideal to be married, to be a provider, said it hadn't happened to him yet. But when the time comes, he'll have no issue relinquishing the control that comes with the head of household status because he's a successful male. But he is more interested in someone that can make decisions with him. He says you didn't marry a person to be your pet, you married a person to be your partner. And also looking at the research he had, he thinks about the roles within a marriage as part of the relationship paradox shift when it comes to Black men. What I find is that men still put pressure on themselves to be providers while simultaneously rejecting the idea that they should be the sole role and they should be the sole provider, but also wanting to hold on and maintain a disproportionate amount of decision-making power. So you got men that sit here and they say, oh, I want to run a household, but brother, you ain't got no money to run no household. So why would a woman even trust you and want to be with you to do that? So even though it's in a man's heart to do it, sometimes he doesn't have the resources, even to know how to do it at times. And so finally, I wanted to put this one up here. Single Black women are undesirable. It's a popular narrative, but statistics say otherwise. And so I want to look at this part in the second stanza. Single Black women fall into the category of women who want better relationship outcomes. With the upswing in Black sisterhood, self-care, Black girl luxury, and soft life, many single Black women are realizing that they deserve to live effortlessly. They are also coming to realization that the glamorization of struggle love is a fallacy, which is true. While the data may be surprising to some, and this is the key part that's going to get us in the conversation, the numbers just prove what Black women knew all along. They not playing no game. All right. Let me get this out the way. We appreciate everybody checking us out on the Doc Chat. We appreciate the love so very much. And I'm telling you about to jump into this great conversation. Now, I'm going to start with the ladies. It looks like our good Dr. Tiffany has jumped in there as well. She's already going in with Dr. Rise. Now, Dr. Rise, that's my friend. He's down there in Atlanta. Y'all have fun in the chat. Go ahead and get him, Tiffany, because you were supposed to be out here anyway. Go ahead and get him. I'm telling you. This is going to be an amazing, amazing conversation. I'm excited about it. So we're going to start out with Dr. Valerie Daniel. So we got a question. And if you've never seen us, I like to do a good 5 minutes. Good 5 minutes. I give these doctors the floor. I let them say their thoughts. So right now, the question I have to this panel is, where are we, especially after seeing all those stats, looking at all that research, where are we as a people when it comes to being a professional in love right now as you see it in 2023? 5 minutes, US.
I think we are unfortunately at a place of a great divide. I think for professionals in the Black community, it is a struggle to find like-minded partners. From my own personal research with my dissertation to my own work with Black female clients, the higher you climb, whether it's professionally, academically, etc., for Black women, they find it even more of a challenge to find a partner of, as you were saying in that one article, that has similar educational attainment, etc. All of those things, the higher we go up, the harder it is to find a comparable mate. And for Black women, although the trope, as you said, has been out there that we are often the last picked, things are starting to change with that. But the more professional a Black woman is, she still has a lot of challenges to finding what I think Black women are asking for, again, compatible partner in terms of their educational attainment, their professional attainment. Struggle. And I think, as you said, that kind of struggle love that Black women have, have dealt with, and Mary J. Blige, real love, all that with that struggle, it's hard and it's tiring. And for so many Black women in relationships, whether you're a mother or a caregiver of others, you already come into a relationship with a multitude of roles that you take on. And then you've got this relationship dynamic, also to speak of what you said at the end there, where potentially you met a man that maybe is not of your same educational attainment, professional, financial, etc., and they want to be in charge. Well, that's kind of hard for me to let that happen when I've been doing all of this, because Black women we're so good at multitasking and doing everything on our own, being independent, that again, trope, strong Black woman, that I think it can be hard for us to, one, when we have a man that maybe even wants to try, how do we let that happen? And two, when they want to try and don't have the means, the conflict that causes, because it goes up against those social norms, as you said, in terms of what the man is supposed to do versus what the woman is supposed to do. Yeah. And if I happen to be the woman that is the financial breadwinner, blah, 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 that's going to clash with that societal trope of, well, I'm the man and I should be. So I think we're in a place of real difficulty. And I think as a society overall, we don't teach what true love is. I ask my clients all the time, what does it mean to love you? I can't tell you how many of them tell me, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think we've got a lot of work to do within our own community. And I think as a society, we've got to stop setting people up for rom-com versions of love and talk about what real love is and what that looks like. Love for me is an action word. It's a verb. It is something that you do, you have to work at continuously. And I think rom-coms have given us the notion that, you meet, you fall in love, it's great, and everything's wonderful, and you live in the honeymoon stage for the next 40 years. And that's not so.
Absolutely phenomenal. You're chiming in the chat. We appreciate it. Dr. Tiffany, I see you. Important to remember that all women are looking for someone with comparable credentials. I want to talk about the research on maternal mortality. When I go home at night, I watch TGIF and Real Housewives and go to sleep. Hey,
I agree with you, Tiffany. I certainly do. I'm not saying in terms of the compatibility that this person as a female wants to have someone that they've got to talk, law or legalese or whatever it is, or medical when they come home. Yeah. But I think in terms of feeling that you've got a compatible mate that understands the struggle for how you got to where you are and can appreciate that is important. I still want to watch Real Housewives of Atlanta too when I get home with a glass of wine. But I'd also like to know that we both understand each other's struggle and we're able to commit and put into this relationship at some sort of fairly balanced space. We're not going to be a 50-50 ever, but some sort of balance that we could find.
That's good. I love it. Dr. Tooks, where are we? Where are we?
In there? I mean, that was a great kickoff. My thing is, and we talked a little bit about this before we got brought on, but I believe that, from the perspective of a Black woman, a highly educated Black woman, I think that we have to choose. You know what I mean? We're at a crossroads in our mentality with having either this or that. For a lot of Black women, of course, I'm not making a generalization and speaking for all Black women, but many Black women, including myself, have had to face this choice of either I'm going to do this and be successful, or I'm going to do that and be successful. For Black women, I mean, for what I've seen my white female counterparts, they have an and mentality, not saying all, again, not making a generalization, but for a lot of the white women that I have been in classes with and gone through college with, they had the husband, they had the house, they had the kids, they had some type of support. Meanwhile, I didn't have any of those things, and I was struggling to get my education, be a better person. I thought these things would make me more attractive. Once, guys found out that I was getting an education and I was striving, to achieve my dreams and doing this thing, this big, great thing that not a lot of people want to do or can do. And it seemed like that actually was a turnoff. I've experienced my greatness bringing out insecurity in men, to whereas I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't even mention this. Maybe I shouldn't even talk about, my education or what I'm trying to do. because I learned that mentioning that always brought out some type of insecurity, ghosting, treatment, of some kind. It just made it very, very hard. And I think that and research has been done on this with Black women about, is my doctorate degree all that it's going to be? Am I going to sleep with that at night? Which I saw a picture online of a Black female doctor. She made her degree a blanket, a throw. And like, yes, I am going to sleep with it at night. It is going to keep me warm at night. But I do agree with you, Dr. Daniel, about this unrealistic version of love that we're being taught from childhood age on up. Disney, rom-coms, where everything always works out. Everybody always gets together with somebody. It always is a happily ever after at the end. And you have a lot of Black women who are modeling their behavior of dating, and they're creating their expectations based off of unrealistic visions and definitions of love. And I think you mentioned this, Dr. T, about, I think this was before we started, but a lot of people are looking for love and don't even know what that is.
That's right.
Not to mention the concept of dating down and settling. I think a lot of Black women, and maybe Black men as well, I can't speak to that perspective, but it's so hard trying to find somebody on your level. And I'm not saying that degrees mean everything. I went on a date with a doctor from Johns Hopkins, and he was a jerk, okay? Ghosted me, okay? Now I'm thinking it's going to be better because we can understand each other's struggle in education. And it was everything but that. It was everything but that. So it's like, I think that as a collective, Black women have the difficult decision of saying to themselves, am I going to better myself for myself and achieve this great thing? Or am I going to try to just wait or pursue a relationship because I can't have both? And I think that this conversation is going to change the mentality of women to let them know you don't have to have this or that. You can have it all. It's just, I think that we have to go about getting it all in a different way. I think we have to exercise much more patience. And I know we're going to be talking about solutions today. I think there's certain approaches that we can take in dating spaces to make us more noticeable and seen and attractive, versus maybe turning people off because of the bitterness that's starting to grow because these dating streets are so darn difficult.
Absolutely amazing. Future Dr. Nick, we appreciate you jumping in. He says one question that also people don't ask themselves or others is, what is my capacity for love right now in this season, right now? And I'd like to shout out the executive director of this particular show, my good doctor. What her name? Well, my good doctor from Johns Hopkins. She's coming on, and she says, "Are you single or are you single?" My God, my Dr. Danielle, she says that. Yeah. And this is exactly what that is. Where are you right now? Are you in that lane or are you out of the lane? That's what we really need to know. And so I'm telling you, we're getting to the Black male part. We appreciate that. Once again, we appreciate everybody checking out the doc chat. Keep these comments coming. Keep your thoughts coming, because we do not have these conversations, especially on LinkedIn. We're having it today, and we're excited about it. Now, my brother, Dr. Young, he did already took a sip of his drink. We casual over here, folks. We relaxing, but we talking that real. I need you to come with it. Tell me, where are we as a people when it comes to dating and relationships right now in this time?
So I let me kind of be transparent and preface something very, very much so up front. I am married, and my second marriage. In between marriages, I was single in Atlanta, Georgia for a decade. So yeah.
What's the statistics down there? What was the statistics?
It was, when I moved here, it was probably I don't know, 14, 15 women for every guy. And so with those numbers, I mean, you ain't got to be smooth, right? You ain't got to, the numbers are in your, if you understand statistics, the numbers are in your favor. And so you had a lot of brothers that weren't really serious, right? They were having fun and running the streets, and that was it. And you had women, some who were trying to date seriously. And so you had this disconnect of folks who just weren't weren't on the same page at the yeah, it's cold. It's icy cold in Atlanta. It ain't nothing. Listen,
That's
Atlanta,
what our frat too. That's what our frat down there.
Atlanta dating is like living in Alaska, homie. It's bad out here.
Wow.
But I say that jokingly to say that I think holistically we have gotten away from some things, and I probably point to in the 1960s, what was the black household divorce rate versus marriage rate, and so in early 50 years ago, collectively as a people, we didn't amass the wealth and the opportunity that we have now, but we had the black family. It was solidified. We had couples and black love, exponentially growing. We had modeling behavior. And so I always take it back. The word I commonly reference is pathology. Part of the problem today is the pathology of what we come from is broken, right? They're broken relationships at home. We saw an angry mama who couldn't find a good man, and we had all these broken relationships. Daddy wasn't around, and then we take that into adulthood. And so I've met several women who, and I'm not single, right? The core of kind of the conflict was they wanted a good man, quote unquote, but didn't really understand what that looked like. They never saw it, right? Your daddy wasn't around. You dated men who may have been abusive, who may have been this or that. And so they often said, oh, I want a good man, but you can't define that. You're struggling to define what he looks like. And so we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from the partnership aspect. We've gotten away from understanding real love, but a lot of folks don't love themselves. So how can you love somebody else if you can't, if you don't have a complete self-loving? You only need to look as far as spend a few minutes on Instagram and you will see countless example of individuals who are struggling in that department. They don't look like it because they went and laid on the table in Miami and got a BBL, or they taking pictures in front of a Rolls Royce, or they at a pool party with celebrities, and they look like they have it going on from just to the nines, right? They look like they have it going on, but those folks are struggling. And so what we're seeing is that's the image being sold, right? Oftentimes I've met women and asked this question, like, what are you really looking for? And they have this long list: 6'2", dark skin, bald head. He got to work out. He got to have 3 degrees. He got to make 6 figures. They have this laundry list, and you like, hey sis, that's Jesus. First of all, I want to meet him, right? And so, I'm not in any way telling sisters to deviate from the list and deviate from standards, but I have to think we have to put those things in context, right? Are they your standards, or did someone deliver those to you in the form of Instagram or social media? Or did your friends identify that? Did your mama say he needs to do this and this? Let those be your standards. But listen, one of the biggest problems is we've gotten away from loving God to the point where we trust him to bring our mate. He needs to be in the center. When we put him in the center, my goodness, man, I promise you, is the day is long and I'm dark skinned, right? I sat down and had a real conversation. I was fasting. I did like a lifestyle fast at one point, and literally for, like 90 days, I literally wasn't drinking. I wasn't hanging out. I was working out. I wasn't eating. I was watching what I ate. I wasn't dating. No sex. I really had a fast, and I asked God. I was very specific in my petition. The Bible tells you to be specific in your petition to God. I was specific in my petition of what I wanted, and he gave me exactly what I asked for. And so, as they say, won't he do it? I trust that we have to get back to where we trust God enough and we love him enough to allow him to connect us with the person that we should be with and that he has for us. And then, look, we've got to get to the point where relationships aren't so cosmetic and commercial, right? We live off this checklist and we say, well, I got a doctor, he should have a doctor. Like it's almost like an arranged marriage in a foreign country. Well, 2 people with terminal degrees, they'll look good together. They'll make pretty babies together. They'll make good money together. And sometimes those people can't stand each other because their personalities differ. And so I always, I tell sisters, look, don't underestimate the value of a good man that loves God, that works hard. Sometimes you have to, even with men and women, meet that person. There has to be some give. Meet them a little bit where they are, and trust that we grow and develop together. If we come together, if we come together as a fully formed thing, where's the growth in the relationship? Where are the stories to tell your kids and your grandkids? You benefit and you blossom over hard times and sometimes challenges and circumstances. That's You ask somebody who's been married 40 years, they're gonna tell you about that. Oh, we had a time where we might have split up. We had a time where finances got hard. We had a time where we had to rely on one another, and it was the love that kept it going. It was the friendship that kept it going. Sometimes we need to get back to that. We spend a lot of time resume watching when we date, and that can be problematic, right? Sometimes you need somebody that's gonna make you laugh, that's gonna support you, and it's gonna be dependable. And when we kind of jump, I'll talk about this whole concept of protector provider, and I agree that a lot of men want to beat on the chest, but can't pay the light bill. I'm a little old school in that. I believe that a man is designed to protect and provide, and that comes in a few different forms. Not always financial, but that person, your spouse, has to be able to depend on you and has to know that you got them. And my job is to alleviate the pressure so that she doesn't have to worry about it.
But you know what, Dr. Young, and I wanted to just chime in on something you said. I think that, and you're absolutely right, it's not just about somebody having a terminal degree. I learned that from my dating experience that I just told you. I was dating,
Right.
went on a date with someone with a doctorate, and they were a jerk. But I think we just, as a Black woman, I really wanted to see more options at my level.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see any options. Like, there were no Black men in my PhD courses at all, like none. Like, there was just no options. And so it's kind of like, wow, even if, like, I will also preface that I am in a relationship as well with a very, very wonderful man who is tuning in. Hi, Clarence. But and I've been in this wonderful relationship for 8 months. I'm 38 years old, and I'm just now getting into the relationship that God had designed for me. Just like you said, Dr. Young, I think we need to change the way that we approach. We are so ready to go on Love is Blind and all of these dating shows, which we know are a hot mess, putting people in mental health trouble and trauma and all of these things. We're trusting everyone else. We're trusting our friends. We're trusting social media. We're trusting dating shows, but we're not going to the one who created our partner, our purpose partner. But again, if you're a person who is not affiliated with spirituality, then you might have a different approach. But I know for me, after I started picking and kept picking wrong, I had to have a conversation with God, like, you know what? This isn't working. And I know someone had said it before about, or maybe it was in the comments about, are you ready? Do you have the capacity? As much as I wanted to be in a relationship when I was going in my PhD program, God showed me afterwards that it wasn't my time for that, because I know what kind of heart that I have. I would have foregone a lot of my PhD obligations to be wholehearted and give 100% in my relationship. Something would have faltered, either my education or my relationship. Everybody isn't like that, but God knows his daughter. And he's like, I know you're going to be all in, and I need you to finish this mission first. And then I'm going to reveal the next step.
I love it. I love it. As you see, folks, we have the legend. Right. Dr. Trenton Watson, the new principal down there in Memphis. Man, I'm so proud of this guy. This is what doctors do, folks. They go to that next level. God bless you, my brother. You are here on the Doc Chat, and we got one question for you as you introduce yourself. We're already jumping into the conversation. Thank you all for the comments. We're going to keep this party rolling. See how fast 30 minutes go when we get into this thing. I'm telling you, it is awesome. Dr. Watson, where are we, men and women, 2023, the status of love and being professionals right now? Where are we at?
How deep you want me to go with this answer?
This is the Doc Chat, baby. Go with it, my guy. Go with it.
I think about this. people don't really see good examples more, and that's why it hurts a lot of people when they get into their own relationship because they don't know what a
Mhm.
relationship looks
Right.
like. Whatever journey, whatever path you're on, if you've never seen a good example, it's like you don't have anything to compare your relationship because you may be thinking that everything is going great and grand, but your partner is like, no, this is not where it's supposed to be. But you only going based on what you know or what you don't know. Uh, you have a lot of that's why you have a lot of relationships that don't work because people may see dysfunction all the time when they're growing up. So guess what they know best? They know dysfunction. A lot of times people say, well, I'm not going to be like that when I get in a relationship. But it's almost like it's just innate. It's like, man, this is how I know to react to certain things when they don't know how to use resolution or they don't know how to talk to their partner appropriately. Instead of I'm talking to you, I'll be talking at you, and you got to listen to what I say. Like Dr. Young said, I'm the man in the relationship, so I'm the one that's supposed to be running the show. But the truth of the matter is, my daddy used to always say, I may be the head, but of course, I'm the neck. So I can only turn my head whatever way, whatever direction he tells me. I did because I want to make your mom and your sister are provided, right. So in 2023, the question is, what is a good relationship? What's a solid relationship? When you're on that track, you're going because when you're in a PhD program, everybody can assist it. If you don't have support from your partner, I promise you, the likelihood of you finishing or the likelihood of you finishing on time is very unlikely because
Mhm.
you gotta have that support. They gotta because that person got has to push you
That's right.
because there you know that there's not you're like, man, I don't want to do this. I, I done. And your partner will see that. A good partner is gonna say, hey, this is not the time to give up. This is the time to begin. When you see you have that type of support, Dr. Young, don't it make you love that person a little bit?
Listen, brother, absolutely. I would not have finished my program without my wife. My wife was literally, my son was born in November. I defended in April, and I was nowhere to be found between November and April.
Right.
I mean, I was there when he was born, but I mean, after he got here, I was on it, and it was during the pandemic. So I don't finish without her. But one thing that she does, and not to cut you off, but one thing that she says all the time is I loved you before you were Dr. Young.
Right.
If you weren't Dr. Young, I'm still gonna love you the same way because of who you are. And so sometimes we are stripped of titles. We both have terminal degrees, and sometimes that just doesn't matter because we are in relationship and we're in relationship with God. So the other things, and we're in relationship with family with our son. So the
Right.
rest of the stuff kind of, the titles
Right.
become secondary.
And we're in the same. My wife and I are in this. My wife is a medical doctor, but it's just, understand the process. You know, before before you start, you know what it's going. You know what we're going to have to do. And I think what helped in my case was the fact that she had gone through it, and I supported her.
Yeah, definitely.
So when it was my turn, it was only natural that she supported me because I promise you, there were many nights where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna take this grade, whatever they give me, and I'm done. And she would be like, no, you can't. You can't just half do it because why you saying you'll just take any grade, you may end up getting a worse grade you think you're gonna get. So you need to do the best your work that you possibly can. And so it was great to have that support. But and again, it's all about the examples that people see. And just like the show, this show is a great example. So people can have those conversations that and understand that they're not by themselves.
I love it. I love it. This is Doc Chat. Dr. Danielle, we appreciate you tuning in as always. Said, unfortunately, my elevation got in the way of my relationship. And ma'am, you were not alone on that because I was in that boat. And so we are here on the Doc Chat We talking that real. I'm telling you right now, we spitting that real. And I'm letting y'all know right now, we're going to bring the fire. We're going to get into some real conversation right now. If you are tuning in, let us know that you're here. We appreciate you. Oh, there she is. We call her the executive producer, Dr. McCamey. We appreciate you. We on here because she's the one that said we needed men and women on here to let y'all know. So, hey, we on here today. I appreciate you. Hey, elevate. I'm telling you, Doc, I'm telling you, it had to be elevation because the only one I had is Jesus. So let me tell you what we about to do. Okay. So we came in a little nice. We came in with a little lovely everything. This is what's going on. Now we about to tell y'all what really this is. And I'm going to start. All right. So when I was getting my PhD, I said PhD meant pretty horrible dating. I just thought it was horrible. I just thought it was like, what in the world is going on? I'm telling you right now, I tried at one point in time to get on a dating app. Let me tell you, I found out one girl had a whole man living with her. I found out another woman was married, talking about, well, we got to do this for the kids, support the kids. I said, what is going on? Like, I didn't understand what's going on. I used to be on Twitter for a long time. I had to cut that off when I was getting my doctorate because I was like, I don't want them to see Dr. John C. Turner and this boy crazy. I used to tweet out all my dating stories. I went out with girls. There was one girl, she had real stinky weave. It was a bad situation. My car stunk for 3 days. There was another girl I took out. Her breath stunk so bad. It was just a horrible situation. I'm telling you, just because you get these degrees don't mean life is going to get easier for you in dating. I would say in a lot of ways it gets harder. It gets harder. Now, here's some things I want to put in the preference before I pass it along because I want Dr. Daniels to jump in. This is the time we talk about what we have gone through, the real of what's happening out here. Because I'm telling you right now, it is tough. All you want to do is get out the streets, especially when you get older. You're just like, let me find somebody who is my best friend. Let me find somebody we can talk real. We can be real about what's going on in the inside of us. Because a lot of us men and women never were told what love was. We never were told that. And that hurts because as men, especially as myself, I love to hug. I'm a caring man. I love to do that stuff. I don't know if you've ever had an unaffectionate person when you are an affectionate person. It's a tough deal. If you have not done the love language test, please do it. Know what your top 3 are. I am words of affirmation. I am personal touch. I am, what's the other one?
Gifting.
What is it?
Gifting.
No.
Time.
Quality time.
No, quality time.
That's right. Quality time. Know what your 3 are. That's very important because I'm telling you, if you get with somebody and they're just not even necessarily what you want, but if you don't know how to give them what they want in those aspects, it's not going to work. It's going to be so tough for you. It's going to be tough. So I'm telling you right now, we getting real right here. This is the real part. If you in the comments, let us know what you went through dating wise. Let us know some crazy stuff you went through. And we understand we got married folk on here. We got people in relationships on here. It's time to get honest about where we are in these dating streets. Dr. Valerie Daniel, where in the world are we? Where are we right now?
Well, I will share my personal because I think is relevant in terms of that. Before starting my PhD program, and I might be the oldest person on here at this point, I, like you, had been on some dating apps and all that and had decided I was not going to do that because I thought the same thing that you said. Being in a PhD program and trying to date meant pretty horrible dating circumstances. So probably about maybe 3 months or so before I started my program, I actually met somebody and we wound up staying in a relationship until I finished my PhD program. And it was nice to have that support. It was wonderful to have someone that was extremely understanding of what I was going through. However, on the back end, kind of like what you said, Dr. Juanita, having that degree now as Dr. Daniel, it was, well, what are my options? You know, where are there more options? Because you're right. You can meet the other doctors, medical doctors, PhDs, whatever, but that doesn't exclude them from being a jerk. So it was, how do you, and I may be, again, the only one that's single. I know you said you're in a relationship. I'm single now by choice, but it is also about, I think, for us, in terms of the larger part of what you said, Dr. Turner, in terms of where we are, I think we've got to work at dealing with some of the trauma that a lot of us come into relationships dealing with.
Yeah.
And it speaks to what we've all said, some of the generational stuff that we've witnessed, and then our own previous relationship trauma that we've been through. And so when I work with folks, because I had to ask myself these same questions, what does love look like? What does that mean for me? Because if I'm going to have these requirements of somebody else, I need to know what it means for me to be loved and what that looks like. So then I can also adequately, ideally, love somebody else. Because if I don't know how to love myself, if I don't know what it means to love me, one, how can I communicate what that is to somebody else? And then I come in with very unrealistic expectations of what I think love is, because I don't really know. So I think we need to spend some time. Again, as a therapist, I say everybody needs to go to therapy. I know it's not something we do in our communities, but I think everybody needs to go to therapy, because whether Papa was a Rolling Stone, whether Mama was beating him up with a cast iron skillet coming for that check, whatever was happening, we come into our adult relationships with trauma, and we often have not taken the time to deal with it. And we put a lot of that on that partner, thinking that they should fix it. As you said, Dr. Tooks, we're often not ready for a relationship, but because we don't want to be alone and all those other things that drive, I got to be with somebody, I got to be with somebody, I got to be with somebody, we often wind up not picking the right partners, not letting God come in and tell us, show us who's the person for us. But we pick somebody in the meantime because I'm scared, I don't want to be alone, because I'm anxious, because I'm depressed, because I'm whatever else it is. And then you wonder why it doesn't work, and you wind up in my office.
Or mine.
Or hers. Yeah. Doing couples therapy, individual therapy, whatever it is. And I'm asking you, well, I know, like you said, Dr. Ruth, you want 6 foot tall, they got to have this, they got to have that. And I'm not saying that those things aren't important in terms of wanting some of the likes of what we want. But what does it mean to be in love, and what does it mean to love you? I guarantee you, for everybody I ask that question, they stop and sit back and go, oh, I never thought about that. Well, how you looking for real love if you ain't never thought about what that means?
But you know what, Dr. Daniel, it's interesting, because you said some really great things. And it's like, I remember, like, again, I've only been in a relationship for 8 months. So I just came into the relationship domain after a tumultuous time in these dating streets. And like you said, Dr. Turner, because I want to definitely emphasize the difficulty of trying to get a doctorate degree and date. It was difficult. Dating apps was more convenient, you know what I mean? And I was using those before the pandemic hit, because I just wasn't on the scene like that. I was in the library for 10, 11, 12 hours. I was teaching classes at night and going to class. Like I didn't have time to go to lounges and stuff on weekends and go to house parties. I just didn't have time for that. So when you're getting a doctorate degree, I know for me, it was a very lonely road. I'm a first gen doctor. So my parents didn't quite understand how to support me. I couldn't always turn to my friends either. They're great. My friends are awesome. But as far as this pathway, I couldn't connect with anyone who really understood that. And so when it gets lonely and it gets hard, that's when I started making bad decisions. I started picking meantime folk, might as well folk. I might as well, you know what I mean? Because there ain't nobody else here. And it made the journey even harder. That's why I agree. If you don't have the right person there to support you, it can prolong. It took me 5 years to get my PhD. I thank God for cutting people and removing people and looking out for me when I wasn't looking out for myself, because it could have been another 5. Well, I only had 7 years to complete the program, but the whole point is that if you're not with the right person, when you're with the right person, they push you towards your purpose. They support you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in the same lane as you. You know, my boyfriend right now, you know, he doesn't have a doctorate degree, but as a new professional in a new domain, you know, starting a new position, he supports me very well. The person who you're supposed to be with doesn't necessarily have to walk your same path in order to push you into purpose. But the wrong person will distract you from that. They'll get you off track of that. And then you'll be focused on drama and trauma and other things. The next thing you know, it's been 3 years since you touched your dissertation and you wonder why you're not finished yet. That's why it's so important to look at the signs and interpret, why am I single right now? I know for me, once I stopped having a temper tantrum about it, God was like, look, because you need to focus. The purpose for you is to become a doctor. That's what I told you when you were 9. Remember, we done had these conversations throughout your life. It's not to be in a relationship right now. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying for you, not right now, because 100% of your focus needs to be getting this degree. And I know you, if you get into a relationship, you're going to get distracted and you're not going to finish. That's why I had to have a spiritual compass, because I was making it seem like it was something wrong with me. Like it was something wrong with me getting a PhD. That's why I'm not attractive out here in these dating streets. We start attributing things to ourselves. I'm doing one of the greatest things that a person can do, but I'm looking at it like I'm doing something wrong. This is what happens when you don't have any spiritual guidance or anybody to really mentor you or somebody to really pump you up and support you. You'll start thinking that what you're doing is terrible. And I'm like, no, I'm doing something great. If people can't understand that, if they can't support that, if this threatens you, if this makes you insecure, then you're not somebody who I want to date. But again, it gets lonely because so many people are operating based out of pain, struggle, love, trauma, generational curses, that you meet more of those folks than folks that are secure and healed.
We got folks jumping in. I'm telling you, keep them comments coming. Keep the thoughts coming of where you're at right now. I mean, hey, yes, she is. She's the doctor. She's preaching. They all preach it all here. We're going to go to our good friend, Dr. Young. If you tuning in, make sure you let us know you're here checking out the Doc Chat. We know a lot of y'all sitting there thinking these things, thinking about relationships. I'm telling you, sometimes for us, it just didn't happen till after we got done with the doctorate, because we know we ain't got time to deal with nobody drama while we was going through the doctorate. And when you have that good best friend after you get done, it feels good. But sometimes that's not everybody's story. So we're going to go to the good old Dr. Young. We appreciate you. Tell us, brother, what was it like? And Lord Jesus, how did you find that light at the end of the tunnel that brought you a nice little man that's running around the house?
Yeah, so first off, shout out to Clarence. I don't know Clarence, but I like Clarence. So shout out, brother. You got your hands full. No, in all seriousness, look, it's and the ladies have given some great perspective on it. I think at some point I began to understand the power, the hierarchy in my life and in my world, and I gave it over to God. At some point because I was messing it up. When I say I was messing it up, I was having fun messing it up, because I was messing up all over Atlanta, but I was having a good time, but it was going nowhere. And then just how it works, right? There were instances and times when it was somebody that I had significant interest in, and just to show you how like Atlanta dating worked at the time, I can remember dating a young lady who was a dentist, and at the time, I wasn't necessarily a scrub. Like, I felt pretty good about how I was moving. I had my graduate degree, homeowner. I'd been in my career for several years in the government, and she didn't think my profile was big enough. She just didn't think it was high enough. Fast forward a few months after that, I'm kind of, lightweight Facebook stalking her. I see her on Facebook, and the dude she had, I was like, where you find him at? Wow. So then that made me pose a question. I began to meet a lot of women like yourselves, Dr. Daniel and Dr. Tuksu, who have it together, amassed, terminal degrees and a bunch of great things. But then I saw them really dating down. And these were some of the women that would kind of look at me with the side eye. And then some of the guys I see them dating, I'm like, I know what he good for. That he's a certified plumber. It probably nothing else. Let's just keep it all the way. And so then I'm like, well, how is the need being met intellectually, emotionally? And so I think at some point, and men do it too, because I know some brothers who probably have been one. Listen, I had a little penchant for a hood rat here and there. I ain't gonna even lie to you. I wasn't always saved. A hood, it just was what it was. And so I think that we really have to we have to get introspective. We got to take some time internally. And to Dr. Daniel's point, sitting on the couch ain't never hurt nobody, because you are no good to anybody else until you're good to yourself first. And part of being good to yourself is understanding who you are, understanding your flaws, understanding your great points, understanding your highs and lows, and understanding how you love, understanding how you want to be loved. Some people um, don't have the capacity. We end up getting with mates, and we don't have the capacity to love them in the language that they understand it. And so then we just end up we're going in circles at that point, because we can't give them what they need. He said Highlander speed dating before dating was on Netflix. Listen, it absolutely is. And so I truly believe that it's some of it is age and wisdom. I think you will grow into it. You will grow into a certain point where enough is enough, and you begin to shift how you move. You begin to shift what you care about, your values. Those things begin to absolutely change. So some of it is obvious, is without a doubt, it's growth. I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, I got the gray hair to prove it, right? I'm all these things, but where my mind frame is and where my frame of reference is what I want, right? At some point in my 30s, I wanted a big house and a fancy car, and I wanted to be on the scene. In my 40s, I'm building my legacy. I want my son to see something different. I want to see a situation where he sees love and he sees affection to his mother. And you know, um, I'm not. I date myself by saying this, but I grew up watching the Cosby's, and that was the coolest thing ever to me. And I have an appreciation for that. So I absolutely, and look, let's be honest. There is a thing in our culture and society where sometimes, even and particularly very educated, very smart, together, buttoned up to some extent, women like bad boys. There is this thing about bad boys, and bad girls to some extent. So sometimes the excitement is exciting until it ain't. And so you have to make a determination on at what point am I no longer, at what point do I see something different? And I tell people this all the time, particularly single women I know. I'm not telling you to change your standards, but I'm telling you to open your eyes. Sometimes you walking right past that joker that's gonna love you to the moon and back, and it's gonna support you, and it's gonna be your absolute biggest cheerleader, and you can do the same for. Sometimes you're walking past somebody every day that you can really build an amazing life with, and who God called and pronounced for you, but you won't look past the list, the grocery list. You won't change that list. You have that finite list that he better be this, and this, and you walk past him. You walk past a great guy every day. If you just open your eyes a little bit wider, won't he do it?
He'll do it. I'm telling y'all.
Won't he will? Won't he will?
Won't he will?
We get into a good hour of power here on the Doc Chat. And you're exactly right, future Dr. Nick. I'm telling you, you got to check yourself to distinguish your preferences and your standards. I love it. Absolutely love it. Before we get on to the good old Dr. Watson, keep those comments coming. Thank you for tuning in. If somebody need to tune in because they going through dating stuff, look, they better tune in, because I'm telling you, too many times people have these problems, but why don't you want to get solutions? Why don't you talk to somebody? And we're going to have some solutions on our latter part of this great conversation. So we're going to give it to the good old Dr. Watson, give his thoughts. Man, tell us the real, man. What you went through. Now you got the wife. You're feeling good. Hey, tell us what it really is out here.
I'm still stuck on 3 days. I had that. And Dr. Young, you know what? As a product of one of the poorest communities, a good hood rat can go a long way. So.
Oh my goodness.
Not like right, every now and then. I'm just saying, because hey, they understand. Some of them are humble enough to know
That's
that
right.
they've gotten into. So hey, it's okay. Sometimes the hood rat. But seriously, what I've learned from sometimes you gotta step down, step up, step into what God has planned.
Dr. Watson, you're talking real good, but you're going in and out just a little bit, just a little bit. We'll make sure we get everything you're saying there.
Let me say that again.
There you go.
I said sometimes you gotta step down to step up.
That's good.
Sometimes you gotta step away to step into what God. Even though you might want to be in a relationship, if that's part of what God planned for you, then the relationship is not going to go well.
Yep.
You got to be able to humble yourself. What does the Bible say? Humble yourself before God, and in due time, He will exalt thee.
That's good.
When you try to exalt yourself in the process, then guess what? The process doesn't go well. The relationship doesn't go where it's supposed to. The needs that you need in this relationship are not met because you have taken control instead of giving control to the person
That's right.
or the being who's responsible for you in the first place.
That's right.
I always share this with my staff because my grandmother gave me a great analogy when I was a little kid. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. She said, anytime that you're running a race and you're putting on your spiritual shoes, don't get lost in the laces because God controls the tie.
That's good.
Come on.
So
I love it.
running your race, right? No matter what place you're in, victory is the end result because you tied to Jesus. So in your relationship, when you got that perspective and understand who you're tied to, right?
Yeah.
The end result is that you're going to win because you're tied to the right person. And if you lost in the laces in these relationships, what happens when your shoelaces come untied? You start to trip. You start to slip. You start to stumble. And that's not the objective that God has for you. He has the objective for you to run your race appropriately so you can have your spot in victory lane. But that's what I got.
But if you think about it, though, this principle of giving it to God, like I applied that to my doctorate because I think people have a very big problem with relinquishing control.
I did.
You know, and with my doctorate degree, I had to really give it to God. I had calculated when I was supposed to graduate.
Right.
I said, God, you know, this is the date. And it went past that. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Like
So-
I added it up. I did the work.
Yeah,
I don't understand why I'm not graduating, but see, everything happens in God's time.
Yeah.
If God would have given me my graduation date, I wouldn't have been able to walk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it was during the pandemic. I graduated in 2021,
Right.
but I was supposed to graduate in 2020,
Right.
and there was no graduations held that year. So it's like, that's why even in dating, I thank God for the people who didn't work out because they weren't the ones. I remember dating a firefighter, and this is when I was trying to finish up my dissertation. And again, he was threatened by what I was doing and constantly tried to compete with me. Oh, my job is more exciting than yours. If we were at a career day, who do you think the kids would want to listen to? All you do is read books all day.
Wow.
I go in and fight fires and do this and do that. And I'm like, wait a minute, when did this become a competition? I support everything that you do, but now you're going to belittle, you know, my purpose and what I'm trying to do. That's why when you connect with the wrong ones, you'll start believing that what you're doing is not a big deal, that it's not important. That's why you have to separate yourself and wait on God to tell you or show you who is supposed to be in your life, because it can really destroy. You know, when we're talking about the enemy here, is to steal, kill, and destroy. And a lot of people who are supposed to win and get certain things, they stop because they started believing the lies of people who don't care to know what you're trying to do in life.
That's good. Dr. Watson, you had something?
Yeah, do you see how powerful the statement that you made, that you can say at this point in your life that I thank God for the people that did not work? A lot of people never get to that point. Some people, that creates trauma for them. Be able to be strong enough to say, I thank God for the ones that didn't work, because you all were the example that I needed to find the one that did work, so I could get myself together. So when it was time to be in an appropriate relationship, I know what to do now, versus staying in a relationship because I just don't want to be lonely and I take any and everything that a person gives. And that's not fair to anybody. You should never do that.
That's good. That's right. Unbelievable conversation so far. Make sure y'all stick with us because now we're about to go into solutions. True living solutions. If you know, hey, I'm really looking for somebody, my heart is ready for somebody, I feel like God has somebody for me. These are the solutions I'm going to have these doctors come with right now as we go into the next section of the Doc Chat Show. This is the Doc Chat Show with your host, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT. I got Dr. Watson, Dr. Tooks, Dr. Young, and Dr. Daniel, and they are dropping some heavy artillery tonight. I'm telling you, if they were a three-pointer, Steph Curry be the one shooting, and he don't miss. So I'm telling you, they coming with it tonight, and I appreciate them so much. So I'm going to go with a good friend, Dr. Daniel. Let's give some real solutions. And you being a therapist right now, somebody out there who is single or dating or looking, and maybe they've been in a relationship, maybe they just saying, I know in my heart I'm a spouse to somebody, or I deserve to be in a relationship with somebody. What would you give them right now?
Well, I think one of the common things that I've heard everybody say, which I agree with for myself as well as I suggest to my clients, it does start with humbling yourself. And whether you say God, Allah, Buddha, whomever you believe in that higher power, it's allowing someone else to come in and help you to see what needs to be corrected in your life so you can be the best partner for that mate when they come along.
That's good.
And so you've got to start with that. And then, because I'm a therapist, it's also about not only being able to say that you're ready, because a lot of folks come in, I'm ready. And all I got to do is peel off the first layer of the onion. Girl, you ain't ready for nothing but sitting on this couch some more and working on your own stuff before you go and throw that out there to be with somebody else. Because trust me, your slip is showing, as my grandmother would say, and you need to get that together. And I've said it to men too. Your slip is showing, baby. You ain't ready for nobody. I know you think you are, but you're not ready for anybody. So first, you got to make sure that you are humbling yourself, as everybody has said, to whatever higher power it is that you believe in. Second, I would say you need to do the work on yourself. If you can't answer the question of what does it mean for loving you, what does it mean for you to love you? If you can't say, I'm all right with taking myself out on a date, I'm all right with taking myself out to dinner, I'm all right with going to a movie by myself, I'm all right with treating myself to something that I like. If you can't do that for yourself, then your expectations of a partner are out of whack. Because anything you want to ask of a partner, you need to be able to provide for yourself in terms of loving yourself. You got to know how to love yourself before you can express that to anybody else. So the next thing is working on the communication for me. What does it look like for you to be able to use that love language, whether it's acts of service, it's physical touch, what does that mean for you to look at implementing that in your relationship? Not only for the other person, but again, for yourself, because you got to know what this other person's love language is, as well as to be able to communicate what your love language is. And then the last part for me is intention. Because as a therapist, I can tell you lots of folks come in and talk a real good game. And, oh, yeah, I'm down, doc. I want to do this. I want to work on this. And I want to do that. Blah, 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 blah. And the first challenge, well, he said, she didn't, they did. Well, where's your ownership? What's your camera? I ain't do nothing. I was coming in trying to be and do what I said. You got to be able to be honest with yourself about what your flaws are and what you're coming in to that relationship with. And if you're coming in with a whole lot of baggage, trust me, that baggage is going to show up before anything else does. Because everything is going to be, well, I only did that because my last boyfriend, my last girlfriend did such and such and such and such. But what's that got to do with anything? Because that's not me. Yeah. So you've got to be able to communicate not only your needs for what you need and how that person needs to be able to be loved from you. And finally, for me is, then you both have got to be on some sort of common ground. I don't need you to both have same terminal degrees. I don't need those things, but you need to talk about what a true, lasting, healthy relationship is for both of you.
Mm.
And if those two things are not on the same page, then we either need to work out a plan for how we're going to get there, or we may need to assess that this may not be the right partner for me because we're not on the same page.
Yeah. Powerful. And this is Dr. Valerie Daniel, everybody. Just phenomenal words. And I'm telling you right now, I know me. I'm a picky person. I've always been a picky person. Thank the Lord. I'm picking amazing people in my life now. And a lot of times being picky can hurt you or it can help you. So you have to be very, very careful about yourself. And something else I want to throw in there. Be happy that you're yourself. I've had women that's told me, man, I can't wait to get with you so I can feed you. And I'm telling these women, like, look, my muscles are never coming out of layaway in Walmart. They're always going to be there. That's just what it's going to be. I'm just going to be tall, slim. That's what it's going to be. I had a woman I went out with, and she said, man, I wish you would act more like Tupac. That's not me. And I don't know why you want me to act like a dead man, because that's not how I roll anyway. So I just want people to realize, just be yourself. Be happy being yourself and realize that the right person is going to love you being yourself. Please don't switch up who you are to be with anybody. We're going to go to the great Dr. Tooks. Solutions. What do you have for
I love this part. I love this part. Being a therapist as well, as well as somebody who's had to go through the process. Like, my thing is that my life experience, I value my education and my training and all that, but I've learned a lot just being a human being on this planet. And so I think that the best gift that you can give a partner is the best version of yourself. Start with that before you give out Rolex watches and Tiffany bracelets and Jordans and cars and all of this stuff. Give them the best version of you, which means that it's going to require you to do some work. It means you're going to have to sit down, face yourself, sit in those feelings that you've been avoiding for the last 20 years, shed some tears, go get you some support. A guy that I was dating, as soon as I came into the dating situation, the first 2 months, the communication was shot and horrible. I thought he had ghosted me. And on my last attempt to communicate with him, he said that he was dealing with grief because his mother passed away 7 years ago. How was I supposed to know that? I thought that it was something that I did. You just cut communication off. And I didn't know that his mother's birthday had passed. But you're dealing with all of this unresolved grief and it's playing out in your dating interactions. Now you're shutting down. You're not communicating. You're pushing people away. Why are you on this dating app, sir? Like Dr. Daniel said, you ain't ready to date nobody. A lot of times we think that we are ready, and wanting something and being ready for it are two completely different things.
Amen.
I wanted to drive when I was 16. I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? So we have to be honest. Not only do we have to humble ourselves, but we also have to be honest. There's nothing wrong with wanting a relationship, but you also have to be realistic and say, am I ready for a relationship though? Because a lot of us want things that we're not ready for. And that's why we have to thank God for not giving us everything that we asked for. Because God is not going to give us anything premature. If we're not ready, it's going to be a no or not right now, So I would say, work on you so you can give somebody the best version of you for yourself first, and then they benefit off of that. Also, work on restoring your faith and your hope in love, because you have a lot of people. That's why I love people who say I'm a hopeful romantic versus hopeless. You need to restore that hope and that faith, because these dating streets will chip at it. They will chip at it. They will diminish it. It will drain you. Dating is a whole job. I heard stories about when dating used to be fun. Now, the way the dating culture is now, it's like a full-time job with no benefits. And it's almost like I'm volunteering for this. I don't get no credit hours, no CEs, no nothing. It's like I'm out here working and not benefiting. So like Dr. Daniel said, whatever spiritual relationship that you have with whatever whatever entity you identify with, sit down and meditate or pray. Take a walk out in nature. Connect with whatever spiritual entity that you follow so that you can depend on something outside of yourself to restore something that's supernatural. Faith and hope are supernatural things. You can't refill that yourself. You're going to have to depend on something outside of yourself to do that, because that's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to keep you motivated. That's what's going to keep your hope alive. A lot of us have death in our heart. The last relationship that we was in killed us. Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, but we out here on these dating apps walking around looking like Thriller. That's not gonna work. Okay. Also exercise patience, because just like with our education, as we all know, we had to be patient with that process. Very, very patient. God is doing a work. I promise you, he's doing a work. He's setting up the red carpet and all of the bells and whistles and all of that. He is writing your love story. If you give him the pen back, you done sat up and wrote 13 extra chapters that wasn't even supposed to be there. You know what I mean? So exercise patience with the process. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get frustrated, that you're not going to get depressed, that you're not going to have lonely moments. But in those moments, you need to pray for patience, because that's the thing that's going to help you, endure the process. Also, focus your energy on self-care and service. So if you are lonely, or if you are sad, or if you want to be around good company, go volunteer somewhere, like go mentor, find other creative and constructive ways to satisfy those needs, so that you're not just picking a person for the good time or for the meantime. I'm going to go talk to my mentee. Now I'm not lonely. Now I'm with somebody, and I know that I'm making an impact, and I know that this connection is healthy, versus having somebody waste your space and your time and your body and your mind, knowing that they're no good for you. So find other ways that you can satisfy these needs. I know you want a boo. I know you want somebody to be with. I'm speaking from experience. Okay. I had to find other ways to satisfy my need to be around people that would not destroy me, because I had already, been there. I'm like 50 Cent. God had to keep bringing me back from these ridiculous situations. Anyway, see a therapist, okay? Because everybody has baggage, and if you don't deal with it, you're going to drag it into your next relationship and make your partner an involuntary prisoner of your pain. That's not fair to them, because you don't want to be that person in the relationship saying, well, my ex, well, geez, nobody ever bought me a gift. My ex never did that. My ex never did this. Your new person is hearing all of these stories about your ex, and it's like, you know what? Do you want them? Because it's like, you don't appreciate me for me. Everything I do is in comparison to who you've been with before. And that's not fair to them. And also, if we think about, and I think Dr. Trenton, had mentioned this about, I believe it's in Amos 3:3. How can two walk together unless they agree? You got to find somebody who's on your level. And that's not always about education. I know I'm singing about my man, but shoot, I'm just happy to have a man. Okay. A God man, God, somebody that God chose for me. But the reason why I'm shouting him out so hard is because he's on my level, not because of education. It's because he gets me. I can be 100% authentically myself. When I come home from work and I feel like taking this doctor persona off, I can do that. And I can just be me, because being a Black woman out here trying to be a doctor and trying to be great, you know what I mean? Being a double minority is hard. I have to put on a certain persona every day just to be taken seriously in some situations, in some circles. But when I come home to my relationship, I don't have to be that. I can just be me. So get somebody who gets you, get somebody who's on your level, and also rip up that list. Because I think, Dr. Young, you may have mentioned it. The reason why you can't see is because your list is all in the way. You wearing it like a blindfold, and you walking right past the person who is your purpose partner. God is up there like, oh my God, are you kidding? Every day you talking to me about somebody, and your list is what's blinding you. So rip up the list and just trust God. So those are my suggestions for solutions.
I absolutely love it. We need peace, stability, communication, and love. And you have to realize that the promises of God are yes and amen.
Come on, sir.
Yes, that means it's coming very soon. If it's amen, that means God hears you, just not right now, but he hears you. It's okay. Please don't force no relationship. Don't do it. Because I'm telling you, it is not end well at the end. That is Dr. Juanita Tooks. We appreciate her. We're going to pass the baton over to Dr. Don Rich Young. I'm telling you right now, we need your solutions, my brother, your solutions. And Dr. Tiff keeps chiming in. We appreciate you. She's saying, I had to tell more than one man to stop talking to me about their ex. I don't even know these women, but I know everything about them. Hey, we've been there. We've been there. And I'm telling you, you deserve to be talked about, Dr. Tiff, because you're the mom out here. We love you out here. All right, Dr. Young, you're up.
So first of all, shout out to Clarence, right? Gotta give my shout out to my man Clarence. Shout out to Clarence. No, so listen, the answers are simple. I'm starting a dating coach business. DM me. We're gonna get it together. I got you.
Like
No,
that.
no.
Do
In all seriousness, Scripture says, the Bible says, to show thyself approved. Right? Show thyself, study to show thyself approved. And I want to take that scripture and move it to a personal point, into study self. Really, really dig into self. And I think everybody has kind of talked about it. So I'm doing the traditional doctoral thing, and I'm piggybacking off somebody else's research. Everybody here has said that you need to really dig into self. And let me be honest, in many cases, you got to grow up.
Yes.
Grow up. Let me
Yes.
just say it in a real
Yes.
tough way, in a strong way. I don't care if you got 5 degrees and you're the executive of this, the president of that university. Grow up, because you may be single, you may be lonely, you may be pitiful in some ways. Grow up. If you really take a time to study thyself, learn thyself, lay on somebody's couch if need be, understand that you're not perfect. Look, I know where my flaws lie. I'm a Leo. It's all about me. I have a big personality. I can be petty, right? I'm the king of it. And so understanding that is really important to how I manage myself and how I manage my relationship. Because sometimes I have to stop myself and be like, nah, bro. That grow up, right?
Yeah.
When I start understanding me, I don't start understanding my good things and my bad things, because everything about me ain't good. Everything about me ain't sweet. Everything about me ain't funny, ain't fly. And I really, really capture the essence of who I am. I begin to work on changing those things or evolving. I'm not saying it doesn't happen overnight. There's an evolution to us. Begin to evolve, right? Grow up, begin to change, begin to evolve. And then really, I see people that are always talking about they want to be married, but are you preparing yourself?
Mm.
Right? Bodybuilders don't go into a show with a gut. They have spent months and months and months and years and years and years crafting every muscle in their body, eating the right things, taking the right supplements, doing all the things to prepare to look good for this show and to compete in this show. It's the same concept. Athletes don't become athletes overnight. They don't jump into the arena or jump on the field and they're great. There's a preparation. A lot of us don't want to do the work to prepare. Sit and listen. Sometimes you got to sit in silence and pray. You got to seek his face, right? You got to get on them knees and begin to ask God where you are, what he's doing with you, what he has for you. And you got to humble yourself, and yet you got to take just a whole new approach that is rooted in humility. But it's rooted in humility and it's rooted in preparation. We strategically plan for retirement. We strategically plan to buy a house. But we fail to strategically plan to understand love and what we need and how to love somebody else. And I think those things aren't as hard as some of the other things that we spend a lot of time strategically planning to do. So really preparing yourself, ready yourself. Everybody's saying, oh, I want to be a husband, I want to be a wife. What have you done to ready yourself? In the time, what have you done between the last relationship and now? The failures of the last relationship, you're going to turn around and sometimes go into the next one with the same attitude. You're not readying yourself. You haven't fixed some things, and you're going to maybe get the same result, particularly if you like the same kind of person, right? You're going to end up putting yourself in a similar, down a similar path. And so, and then I want to say, let's not compromise the care, affection, and love we need for capitalizing on the sex that we want or the lust that we want.
Say that again. Hold on. I wasn't even ready for that one myself. Goodness gracious.
Let's not compromise the care we need and the love we need for capitalizing on the sex we want.
Amen to that.
Woo!
Y'all smart people. I ain't gotta say
Yep.
nothing else.
Amen.
That's called,
Podcast for the night.
that's called a mic dropping an offering on the way.
Goodness gracious.
There it is, right there.
That's Dr. Don Rich Young.
And the last thing
Tell
is
me.
allow God to show you yourself.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. That was good.
I'm telling y'all,
Wow.
this is the Doc Chat. This is what we do. Because let me tell y'all something. And something I want to make sure everybody understands too. The best relationships, I promise you, you will never see them on social media.
Nope.
Uh-huh.
Because they got too much time working on their own relationships than to be showing y'all everything they doing, everything that's going on.
Yep.
And I'm proud of the folks that have found love and realizing not everything needs to be on nobody's social media. I'm telling you right now, I love listening to was it Erica Campbell in the morning and her show, and she talking about Devon Franklin and Megan Good, and Devon Franklin's telling folks, oh well, the book is still good that we wrote together. It was still good. Y'all didn't stay together. I don't think the book is any good, bro. I don't think so. Because here's the thing. We have to realize you can't keep giving advice on love and relationships if you haven't even been through it yet. Because you'll see 30, 40 folk, people that's been married 30, 40 years, they not even giving relationship advice. Because it's a miracle that a lot of this stuff is even happened to stay together, and there's stuff that's happened they don't even want you to want. That's so bad. I remember a preacher had said one time, one of my favorite preachers back in Indianapolis, Bishop Tyson, he said, me and my wife were separated for 9 months. That was the hardest time of my life because she was not there, and he went and fought for that woman back. But a lot of times we're not telling those stories. We need to tell these stories and be okay with them, because somebody has to know you're going to go through stuff. Not everything's going to be perfect, folks. It's not going to be perfect. But if you got somebody that can love you through it all, I'm telling you, it'll be a blessing.
And Dr. Turner, one last thing that I would have to, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Once you have found someone that you think it's going that route, right? You feel like God has placed that person in your life. Listen, don't do yourself a disservice by not getting a mentor couple.
That's good.
You need to get with somebody that's done it. Just like you had a dissertation chair and you had a methodologist, they've done it, right? And they can guide you through it. Why would you not treat your greatest treasure to some extent the same way? Get with a mentor couple that gets it, that's been through some things, that understands it, and that can often you can go have dinner with once or twice a month, that you can call and they can really be there, be a listening ear, and they can pour into you.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Tiffany, and she has been tuning in. We appreciate her, and she has been right. We have barely mentioned sex because we have to know that's not it. That's not everything about it. And
I did. I mentioned it.
You did. But we realize that's, of course, not the most important part, but we have to realize that people sometimes don't understand that. Sometimes it's all about this attraction thing that I don't understand, or I'm okay in the situationship knowing that we sharing, and now the Young Miami and Diddy thing. You're supposedly with her, but he had a whole baby on you. But I don't know. I ain't gonna go on that. But
that's the thing too, though. And I'm glad that Dr. Tiffany is in these comments, as tough as she is, because and it goes back to what Dr. Young said. Yeah. A lot of people are mixing up lust and love. You think you're around here loving everybody when really you're lusting after them. You're thinking about sex. You're sharing your body, and it's like when you do that, you know what I mean? Your focus is diminished. Your discernment is gone. Like, you really have to realize that sex is a powerful thing. Like, trust me, I know. I was celibate for a decade. Okay. You're right, Tiffany. That adds a whole nother layer, a whole nother filtration system when you put sex in there. But I would echo back to Dr. Young's point, like, please don't make decisions based on how good the sex is or how good the sex you think is going to be. Because at the end of the day, when you're having, and me and Dr. Daniel can speak to this, we see people who are not even sleeping in the same bed. The sex was bomb to begin with, but then real life problems that y'all never addressed kept lingering and got bigger, and now you're sleeping in two separate rooms. Yep. Or your husband or your partner is sleeping in a hotel. Now you're coming to see us because guess what? Sex ain't fixing it. Yeah. Now you don't even desire sex anymore because the problems have gotten so big.
Yeah. Yeah. And you even have preachers on Sunday morning. That's the first time they seen their wife all week. I mean, that's the first time they seen their husband all week. It's real talk. Mm-hmm. Dr. Watson, you know I always love when you back. Clean up, my guy. You always bring it home. I need to know solutions to anybody out there that's saying, I know I desire love. I know God has love for me, but man, what can I do to make sure I'm ready for that love that
comes? Just to piggyback on everything we were saying, two things. Number one, my frat brother, Dr. grow up, but some people grow up and some people get older. The ones that get older, lust is what drives them. The ones that grow up understand that they can thrive without real love in their life. And as we've been saying all night, if you don't love God and love yourself, you'll never be able to love anybody else. Yeah. It's not going to work. And you have to be yoked with the person that you're with. Yep. I'm not saying you got to be just like them. Yoked. Basically, like that person has to got to feed him. There's going to be, like you said, sex ain't going to get it. It's not going to, what you think it's going to. But how much better is it when the two people are actually feeding into each other? Mm-hmm. I know what you like. You know what I like. I don't have to tell you. I don't have to give direction. I don't have to say go left, right, up, down. I don't have to say anything because we feed it off of each other. And it makes it, and that's a word that I would say about on a spiritual level. Find on an intellectual level. So when you can in the same room with this person, word, but everything.
Dr. Watson, you're breaking up. We can't miss this.
Right.
Hold on, I'm gonna say this again. Find somebody that you connect with. So even if you're in the same room with this person and you're not saying a word, there's 1,000 words being said just from the look that you get from that person. They could be on the other side of the room and you're in a crowded space. Mm-hmm. But because you're connected, they know when you're ready to go. You know when they're ready to go. Don't have to say anything. It's just in a look. But that's a connection. That spiritual connection goes so deep. It makes a whole lot of difference. Because like you said, man, sex runs out. Mm-hmm. Let me put it like this. And this is for my frat brothers that are on the line tonight. We used to say, what's better than sex? Sex with somebody new, right? So if that's what your focus is, then guess what? That's what you're going to get caught up in. But when you got that spiritual connection, no matter what you go through, this person knows me. This person gets me. This person is with me. So wherever I am in my journey, if I'm going after my PhD, they are with me because I'm spiritually connected with them and we equally yoked. We walk together. That's a beautiful thing. Find that. And lastly, shrink your ego. Get out of your own way. Because really, ego means everybody get out. Put that in your mental Rolodex and let it marinate.
That's great. Dr. Trenton Watson. And I'm telling y'all, God is so good. I appreciate y'all. We have to realize that 1 John chapter 4, one of my favorite chapters in the whole Bible, that God is love. And if you don't know what love is, how are you going to be able to love somebody else? I'm telling you, these doctors are dropping it. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. I'm telling you, we're going to go one more round robin. We got a few more minutes just to get final thoughts. And they're going to let you know where they at, where you can find them. Because these are great doctors doing great things. So we're going to start with the great Dr. Valerie Daniel. tell everybody where they can find you, and give us one more thought on this great conversation.
Well, I would say my one more thought is remind yourself that love is an action word and it means intentionality. In order to maintain that spiritual connection that Dr. Watson was talking, that we've all talked about, it takes work. I think so many of us going into relationships think once I get you, that the work is done because I got you. Love is an action word that never stops needing action to be taken. So make sure that when you are in that relationship, when you found that person and you've got that spiritual connection, work at it. Treasure it for the treasure that it is. Work at it. Love is an action word. You should always be intentional about how you show your partner how you love them, that they're special to you. Make sure you work at that. If you do, you won't be in my office or Dr. Took's office, because you will be doing what you need to do to be invested fully in your partner, in your relationship. In terms of where you can find me, you can go to www.lifecrossings.com. You can look me up. That's my website. You can find me there. I'm also teaching at a local community college here, Delaware County Community College, from time to time when I feel like being bothered with students. So
that's the community piece. Trust me.
That's the community piece, exactly.
Got to give back.
Got to give back. So I do that, and I also do clinical supervision for other master's level social workers that are looking to pursue their LCSW. So I'm always available. I love to have a good conversation. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I would say if my final word would be just remember that love is an action word.
Love it. Dr. Valerie Daniel, everybody. Dr. Juanita Tooks, one last thought on this great conversation, and tell folks where they can find you too with therapist.
Well, you can find me on here, of course, Juanita Tooks on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle is at Dr. Juanita Speaks with an S on the end. Those are the best places to find me. My final thought is for those of you who desire to be in relationship, an intentional, committed relationship, don't give up on that. You didn't just wake up with that desire because it was just a random feeling. I believe that that's a seed that God placed inside of you. And if you want love, He can manifest that for you. You just have to be willing to do what it takes to really get what you say that you want. And if you do not understand what that is, before you start searching or looking, make sure you understand what love is. And the best way to understand what love is to go to the source. Go to God so that He can teach you or give you a refresher course on what love is, because the world has a tainted, twisted version of love, relationship, and marriage. And that is what a lot of us are following. That's what a lot of us, you're watching these shows, and be careful about what you watch and what you binge, because you're taking that in and you're going out into the world thinking that love is supposed to operate like that. That is not love at all. It is not, it's entertainment. It's not love, it's entertainment. So I would say don't give up on your desire to be in a relationship. It might take some time, but if you are making the best use of it by working, I think Dr. Young had mentioned that. What are you doing to prepare? Because it's not just about getting a person. It's about maintaining and sustaining the health of a relationship. It's about growth. If you're just aiming to get somebody and you're not working on how to maintain by practicing certain skills, by understanding certain relational concepts, you're not going to be able to keep the person who you're waiting on. So my final thought is, please don't give up on love. There are certain people who know they don't want to be married and know they don't want to be in a relationship. If you know that you want to be married, or you want to be in a partnership or a relationship, don't give up on that. You have that feeling for a reason. You just have to be patient with the process and make sure that you work constructively on yourself and prepare yourself to be in the role. We all had to prepare to be doctors. We all had to go through a process of being a doctor. We didn't just say we wanted to be one and then we woke up and we was a doctor. We had to go through some challenges. We had to go through some trials. We had to take some time. We had to work. Anything that you want to be, you got to work at it. And if you want to be a spouse or a partner, that is nothing different. So please don't give up.
Absolutely phenomenal. I'm telling y'all, and I got to put him back up there, my good Dr. Grimes, one of our good doctors, and he has a great book, 20 Steps to Applying to Graduate School. Make sure you get it. But the reason I want to bring him up, he's actually married to a doctor. They actually graduated and got hooded on the exact same day.
Nice.
So
That's
if there's
wonderful.
any kind of example of what God could do, greatness, he is an example. So we appreciate you tuning in, Dr. Grimes. We appreciate that very much. The great words, everyone, of Dr. Juanita Tooks. I'm telling you, she always comes with it, and we appreciate her. Dr. Donridge Young, final word of this great conversation. Tell people where they can find you.
So first and the last time for the night, shout out to Clarence. No, real shout out to Clarence. And so you can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Donald Young, EDD. I'm on Facebook, Donald Young. So feel free to reach out anytime. Listen, I think I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. It's not easy. We need to get over. It is amazing to me how much resilience we operate in when it comes to our careers and when it comes to some other things in life, but how soft and how cynical we become when it comes to love and when it comes to relationships. They're not easy. They take work. Everything takes work. Just like you work to get these degrees, just like you work to get the house, the car, all the things you want, they didn't come easy. So I'm gonna encourage people and really advocate for folks to be willing to do the work and be willing to adjust. Right? We cannot stay the same. The only thing that remains constant in this universe, and my Newt brothers can understand this, is change. Those who can adapt persevere. Those who cannot merely fade away. We have to be willing to make some adjustments on the fly and make some shifts in who we are, and we have to be willing to grow. We have to be okay with challenging ourselves to grow up. Grow up, put in the work, and then when you do those things and you begin to develop and mature, I promise you'll understand the difference between making love and having sex.
Absolutely phenomenal. Amazing. Dr. Donridge Young, everybody, I'm telling you right now, that man is my frat. And what you know about that, he's incredible. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. And last but not least, my cleanup hitter, Dr. Trenton Watson. Last thoughts, and tell folks where they can find
you. No, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn, Trenton Watson, PhD on LinkedIn. Just to piggyback on a couple of things that were said, love in hip hop is not where you find love.
Right.
Your Housewives is not where you find love. The best kind of love is that love that God gives us each and every day. Because if it hadn't been for his grace, it should have been us. If it wasn't for his mercy, it would have been us.
Mm-hmm.
If we learn to love ourselves, I promise it's a lot easier to love somebody else. And you don't have to go out to find love in the wrong places. When you're connected to God and he gives you the desires of your heart, he'll put that person right in front of you. And you'll know it. And you'll be able to draw right to them. You'll feel it. And honestly, it's like you loved them before you even knew their name, because you're connected to him. We're just blessed tonight on this particular show to be able to talk about freely just the kind of love that God gives and the kind of love that he is in our lives. It's a beautiful thing, but you got to be able to love him and love yourself. And I promise life will be so much better.
Absolutely powerful. Amazing. Dr. Trenton Watson, we appreciate you, my brother. Just amazing, amazing words from these great folks. I'm telling you, I might have to come back from part 2 because I don't think some of y'all caught all this. I just don't. I just really don't. But we appreciate so much. We appreciate the great Dr. Tiffany. This was her idea. This was her brainchild. So I'm telling you, we give honor to her because she dropped some great knowledge in that chat, and we appreciate that. So All I want to do is say thank you for all these great doctors, Dr. Trent Watson, Dr. Juanita Tooks, Dr. Donrich Young, and Dr. Valerie Daniel. And I'm telling you, make sure you connect with them, find them, because I want to say what I always say at the end of these doc chats. You didn't see nobody fight. You didn't see nobody yell. You didn't see nobody get out of pocket. We are changing the narrative of Black professionals, Black doctors, and what we can do for our community and for our people. This is the Doc Chat, folks. We love y'all. We thank y'all. Thank you for all the commenters, everybody who tuned in. And until next time, we say peace out.